It's 8:30 here in the heart of Westminster on a momentous night for British politics as Conservative MPs vote on the future of Prime Minister Theresa May. She's fighting to stay in her job to deliver her Brexit deal. But there are Tories who want her to go now and for a different leader to deliver a different deal. Tonight, the fate of the Prime Minister is in the hands of her own MPs. We'll be live in Parliament for the result. Good evening and welcome to this BBC News special on Theresa May's fight to stay as leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Earlier this morning, it was revealed that there were enough Tory MPs disillusioned with Mrs May's leadership to trigger a vote of no confidence in her. It's a vote in which only Tory MPs have a say, and it's been taking place in a Commons committee room tonight. The moment Mrs May knew it was on, she came out fighting.
Sir Graham Brady has confirmed that he has received 48 letters from Conservative MPs. So there will now be a vote of confidence in my leadership of the Conservative Party. I will contest that vote with everything I've got.
The votes are now being counted. We expect the result around 9 o'clock tonight. Earlier this evening, the Prime Minister made her pitch to Conservative MPs. And in a major and emotional concession to her critics, she said that though she dearly wanted to, she would not lead the Tories into the next general election. So whatever Tory MPs decide, the Conservative Party tonight is on the brink of a new leadership contest. The BBC's Deputy Political Editor, John Pina, joins us now. In advance of the result, John, this is the big news of the night. She won't lead the Tories into another election. Does that suggest to you that her position was weaker than we thought?
I think it's an acknowledgement of the weakness of her position. I think, behind the scenes at Westminster, around the Conservative Party, it's been felt for a long while. In fact, ever since the rather disastrous victory of the snap election last year, they did not want Theresa May to lead them through another election. In that sense, she was always on borrowed time. It wasn't clear Theresa May saw it exactly that way. And now it's clear that she does recognise that. And she's effectively saying, if we can get to the next stage and negotiations, it won't be me, it'll be someone else.
Let's step back a little bit, John. We've seen motions of no confidence in governments and prime ministers on the floor of the House of Commons, where everybody gets a chance to vote. And when they lose, governments sometimes fall as a result. But this isn't one of these. This is no confidence triggered by her own side in which only Tory MPs vote. How has it come to this?
Well, the no confidence vote was driven by essentially hardline Brexiteers who detested Theresa May's compromise plan with Brussels from the outset and then came to be frustrated and angry that there was no sign whatsoever of Theresa May stepping back from it. So where just a few weeks ago you'd hear a lot of Brexiteers saying, look, we want to change the policy, not the person, they came to be saying we want to change both. But if the estimates of our crack research team are correct and the word around Westminster is accurate, it looks as if Theresa May well be hanging on.
Well, if she loses, if she hasn't hung on, and if she loses, she remains Prime Minister tonight and tomorrow and the days to come, I assume, but only until the Conservatives have picked a new leader.
Yeah, that's it. They would choose a new leader, and the expectation and the odds would be either a card-carrying Brexiteer or maybe a former Remainer who's really in the business of trying to please the Brexit side of the party, the membership, who are, if anything, even more Brexit in their thinking than the MPs. So on the way to coming into office, such a new Prime Minister would be, I think, offering the kind of things that these people want to hear.
And if she's won, then clearly it's a victory over those who were trying to get rid of her. But she had to withdraw her motion on her Brexit deal because she didn't have the votes in the Commons. She's now had to undergo an internal insurgency from her own side, and she says she won't fight the next election. Add all that up and it's a weakened Prime Minister.
I think it's true that the hardline Brexiteers, if the Prime Minister ends up winning, they end up rather weakened because they didn't go into this for some sort of show of strength.
Just to weaken her.
They went into this to get rid of Mrs May, and if she's still there, they'd have failed to do that quite conspicuously. It doesn't necessarily do very much for Theresa May. I mean, quite apart from anything else, there are more than enough of them to defeat her Brexit plan. We're talking about, will it be whatever, 80 or more voting against her? You need a small handful to defeat this plan. And with the Democratic Unionists dead set on voting against it, and they are, that handful is there, and many, many more besides. So the deadlock and the position of weakness, as you say, Andrew, it's all very much there.
John Pino, thank you for that. Now let's go now and speak to the BBC's chief political correspondent, Vicky Young. She's in the central lobby in the heart of the parliamentary building. Vicky, tell us more about this concession tonight by the Prime Minister that she will not lead the Tories into another general election. What exactly did she tell her backbench MPs?
Well, Andrew, this is absolutely intriguing because I've spoken to several people who came out of that meeting, and I have to say to you, they are interpreting it in different ways. She apparently said to them that in her heart she would have wanted to lead the party into that election in 2022, but she was accepting that not all colleagues felt the same way. Now, interestingly, when people came out from that, there were some who said, look, she's just making it clear she'll step down in 2021. She fully intends to be the person who is in charge of those negotiations about the future relationship. Others, though, coming out and saying, no, hang on a minute, she's going to be gone by April. So I think this is going to be a problem. Even if she gets through tonight, that is storing up a problem for her in the future. And one minister said to me there is going to have to be much more clarification about that in the coming days. And real, I think, a sense of worry amongst many MPs, many ministers who fear that, 60, 70, 80 vote against her, even though she gets through tonight. How are they going to govern if they have all this legislation to get through? And one MP saying to me that he wasn't even sure that the party could be led at all.
All right. Vicky, the voting has stopped. They were voting between 6 and 8 o'clock, I think, tonight. They're now counting the votes. They may well have finished. There's only about 317 to count. Tell us what happens now. Just talk us through the next half hour or so.
Well, I know that journalists, colleagues have been called into the room for the announcement, but we're being told it won't be until 9 o'clock. Now, earlier, Sir Graham Brady, he is the man in charge of all this, said that 3 of them would be counting those votes. There would have to be verification of some kind, but we do know it was a 100% turnout. We know that the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, when he went in, was asked how he was going to vote, and he said he was voting Conservative. But that result will come. Again, Sir Graham Brady had indicated earlier he will say the result of it and then the numbers. And of course, as with all these things, there are cabinet ministers going around saying a win is a win, she wins by 1, she's fine. I don't think many people here would think that. I bumped into someone from the Downing Street team earlier and they were more nervous than I was expecting, actually. I haven't found many MPs who think that she's going to lose tonight. As ever, no one really knows. The range of predictions has been that she will win maybe by 20, others saying she'll win by 150. So that tells you no one really knows for sure.
Right. Vicky Young, thank you for that. We shall see. Only about 20 minutes or so to wait. I'm joined now by James Cleverly. He's a Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party. James Cleverly, why has the Prime Minister said she won't fight another general election?
Well, I think that she made a number of points during the address that she gave to the 1922 committee. And she said she recognised the concerns that people had about the backstop, about the relationship with the DUP, about the way the party wanted to move forward.
But why is she not fighting another general election?
Well, that's a decision that she's made.
I know that, but why?
I don't know. You would have to ask her. The point that she made when she addressed the 22 was that she recognised what the concerns were. She knew what she had to address, both in terms of the backstop, the relationship with the DUP, and how we go about delivering Brexit. She said she was going to focus on that. Her priorities were about delivering what we promised the British people, and what happens in the future is in the future.
If she's won tonight, let's assume she has, and by a decent majority, we don't know, but for the sake of this question, how does that help get her Brexit deal through the Commons?
What it does, it gives her the opportunity to get back to work. So she had to cancel meetings today with European leaders. She has committed to fight for movement on the backstop where she knows there are concerns.
This is the Northern Ireland, keeping the Northern Ireland border open.
Absolutely. And that backstop is also part of
right.
Building the relationship back up
help?
with the DUP. Well, I would prefer we were not going through this process at all. I'd prefer that she was focused on the jobs. She wasn't distracted by this.
No, but that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is if she has, I mean, if she's lost, it's a whole new ballgame. And we'll be looking at a new Prime Minister quite soon. But if she's won, her challenge is still to get this Brexit deal through the Commons.
Absolutely, Andrew,
So
you're spot on.
How does this help?
No, you are spot on. And there are certain realities that do not change based on this result. The simple fact of the matter is, as it stands, this deal is obviously uncomfortable with lots of parliamentarians. The deal needs to change. It's obvious that we need to do some work rebuilding the relationship with the DUP. It's obvious.
These are the Ulster Unionists, Democratic Unionist Party, on which Mrs May depends to govern for a majority.
Yeah.
She's lost them over her Brexit deal. They've said they won't vote for anything that has this Northern Irish backstop in it. How does she get them back?
Well, she's speaking with Arlene Foster and Nigel Dodds.
Who's the leader?
Who's the leader of the party holding the leader
But
here.
they don't want this at all.
Well, they've said they don't like this
her.
deal. They said they don't like this deal, but the Prime Minister's made it clear that she's looking to renegotiate the backstop. There are challenges, huge challenges, and no one's pretending otherwise.
Hold on, with
the
who
point
is-
the Prime
with
the point the Prime
is the
Minister's
Prime
made-
Minister renegotiating this deal? She's been to Germany, she's been to Holland, she's been to Brussels, she may now go to Ireland if she wins tonight. Can you give me any indication that the Europeans are prepared to renegotiate the backstop?
Well, they've said they're not prepared, but actually throughout this whole process, what they've said publicly and then what they've done actually in the negotiating room has been subtly different. So the Prime Minister is giving it her all to get some movement on the backstop, which is where we know the concerns are. And the point that I've been making is that there are a number of realities which don't change even if we change leader. And they're going to be a challenge.
Right.
These are challenges. They're not easy. She is working on them and she's focused on delivering Brexit for the British people.
If she doesn't get any major changes to her Brexit deal? What happens?
Well, look, we can speculate because actually I think a lot of people will recognise that actually there is no parliamentary majority for a Brexit on WTO terms.
Right.
So the big choice, the fundamental choice that parliamentarians who want to respect the referendum outcome have to ask themselves is, what do they want? Do they want a deal, imperfect, delivered? Or do they want to put a question mark over whether Brexit happens at all? Because the House of Commons has made its position clear. It is very keen to delay, distort, or even stop Brexit altogether. I think that would be a catastrophe, and we're working very hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
Even if the Prime Minister wins tonight, she's now the walking wounded, isn't she?
Well, it's never great having a vote of confidence
Can I take that as a yes?
That you have to. No. But the bottom line is, these are tough and unprecedented times. She has shown a degree of resilience and robustness that I think anyone would envy. It is tough. It is not going to get very much easier, but she is going to focus on what really matters. Delivering Brexit and then getting on with work.
All right, James Cleverly, we need to leave it there. Thank you for joining us in this historic night. Let's go to Maidenhead. It's the Prime Minister's own constituency in the heart of the home counties. Sarah Campbell has been getting some reaction there. Sarah.
Yes, indeed. There's a very close-fought contest here at the bowling club in the centre of Maidenhead behind me. But everyone really has got one eye on the televisions as well, wondering what's going to happen. Because, you say, this has been Theresa May's constituency for the best part of 20 years. Lots of people here know her personally, have worked with her, including the president of the Conservative Association, Philip Love, and also Donna Simpson. Just tell me, first of all, what do you make of what her colleagues have done to her today, calling this vote of no confidence?
I'm very disappointed. I think the timing was wrong. I mean, they tried it a few weeks ago, vote of confidence. It didn't work then. I just hope it doesn't work this time.
Donna, how do you think she'll be feeling? What kind of person is she, as you've seen as a constituency MP?
She's an extraordinarily resolute person, and when I heard her this morning, I was fine, and then I saw her face and that bravery. She's extraordinary, she's resolute, she's amazing, and I'm sure she'll triumph tonight.
And was she the right person to lead Brexit? The Maidenhead constituency was pretty split in the 2016 vote. You, Philip, leave, you'll remain. Was she the right woman to lead?
Yes, I mean, she came in after David Cameron left, and she's got the remit to do this. And if you know her well, she sticks at it. She knows her facts extremely well. She was a very good negotiator before she became a member of Parliament. So she's a very good person for negotiating, yes.
Okay, and Donna, we've heard this evening she said she's not going to lead the party into the next election. How did you react to that news?
She's a fabulous MP, so if that means that she won't be an MP for Maidenhead, that's terribly sad for all of us. But what can we do with that?
Okay, Donna, Philip, thank you very much. As I say, many people here in Maidenhead eagerly awaiting the results of that ballot. Back to you.
Thanks for that. That's the view of some Maidenhead Tories. I'm joined now by leading Conservative backbencher, staunch Brexiteer Bernard Jenkin. Welcome.
Hello, Andrew.
These people we just heard from there, the heart and soul of your party, the people that do all the hard work to get people like you elected, they're appalled that you've called this election at this time, at a time when the government's in the middle of a major negotiation about the future of the country, and you call a leadership election.
Well, all we've done is offer the Conservative MPs a choice as to whether they want to have a leadership election or not. And it may well be that they have decided they don't want to have a leadership election. But there were some very serious issues to consider in this, that the Prime Minister's authority has already ebbed away very substantially. She couldn't even bring her deal to the House of Commons. Even if all the Conservative MPs in the House of Commons supported that deal, she would not have got it through because of her relationship with the DUP.
But she's been touring around Europe trying to improve the deal, trying to make it more acceptable to the House of Commons. Maybe not to people like you, but people that may be prepared to move if she gets some movement. So why would you interfere with that process at this crucial juncture in the Brexit deal?
Well, this has been rumbling on for some time. And personally, when I put my letter in, I thought this has got to stop. We've got to bring this to a
This was the letter that MPs had to send in to trigger a no confidence motion.
I was not campaigning to have this. But I'm very clear in my own mind that the Prime Minister has not been trying to improve this deal sufficiently such that the DUP might actually support it. And without the support of the DUP, we haven't got a government. That's how desperate the situation is.
But if she wins tonight and does her best to try and improve the deal as she would see it and the Commons, parts of the Commons want, will you get behind her now?
Well, I've always supported her until this moment.
You've just put in a no confidence attempt.
Until this moment, I've always supported her, and if she wins the ballot, then all Conservative MPs will wish to give her their support. But that doesn't necessarily mean we can support the agreement. If the agreement doesn't actually meet, it doesn't have to deliver leave. Leave is a pretty unambiguous word. If we're still going to be in the customs union, still under the Court of Justice, and we can't get a deal that we can actually leave, which is subject to an EU veto, I think that's still a problem.
It may not be the kind of deal, the deal that you wanted, but it is a Brexit. And although it's a struggle to get a majority for it, as we've seen, there's no majority in the House of Commons for the kind of harder Brexit you want.
I think this is one of the difficulties, that there are a few of us in the House of Commons, rather less than 52%, who represent the 52%. Even though 400 or more constituencies voted leave, most MPs did not vote leave, and you have this mismatch between those who say they represent the people and what the people actually want. And does that mean we shouldn't stick up for what the people voted for in the referendum?
But the people watching tonight will want the government to get on with it.
Yes.
In some way. And there is a struggle for the Prime Minister, first of all, to get a majority to continue to lead her party. We'll know about that in a few minutes. But also to get a majority for the deal she's negotiated on that. Why not let her continue to try and do that? If she can improve it, there could be a majority for that.
Yes.
There's no majority for what you want, either no deal or a hard Brexit. There's no majority over there for that.
If she wins this, we will have to make more compromises. People like me have made many compromises. We're prepared to accept a deal that costs £39 billion, even though not getting much in return for it. We're prepared to accept a horrendous implementation period where the EU will continue making our laws and we will have no say over the laws they are making. We're prepared to accept a lot of compromises, but so long as we can get to the end of this and we leave and are an independent sovereign state, because above all, the British people want to leave. They may be rather disillusioned with Brexit at the moment, but there's no doubt they would not have voted to leave if they did not want to leave.
Are you happy that Mrs May says she won't lead your party into another election?
Well, I was saddened the way she presented that. Obviously, it was a sort of attempt to appease
But you're glad, aren't you?
hostility. Well, I don't think anybody really seriously believes that she would lead us into the next general election, but she had to say that, but it just underlined the kind of problems she has and the kind of problems that will still persist. In the end, her future will be decided over there in that building.
Well, it is
and
at
none
this
of these
moment.
problems are going to
It's
go
being
away.
decided as we speak.
Even if every Conservative continues to vote for her on the floor of the House of Commons, she's got problems because she's a minority government and she's alienated her coalition partners.
Bernard Jenkins, thank you for being
very much.
with us on this busy night. Now, as Bernard Jenkins said, the Prime Minister's future is being determined now as we speak, and it's not being determined by a motion of no confidence in the government in which Labour and the Scottish Nationalists and the Greens and Clyde Cymru, they all get to vote. None of that. This is her own MPs deciding if they have confidence or not in her. This has rarely happened before, and of course if she loses tonight, she will not long be Prime Minister. And even if she wins, well, we don't know just how much power she will have and how it would change things. So, there's a beautiful picture there of Parliament in these rooms that you see. That is where the count is going on. I assume, since it's only 317, that they will have completed the count by now, I would think. It is cold. Their hands may be a little cold as they count, but it shouldn't take that long to count these ballots. If it's close, of course, there will have to be a recount. We'll then hear from Graham Brady about 9 o'clock. He is the sort of chief shop steward of the Conservative backbenches, and he will give us the result as to whether a majority of MPs have confidence in the Prime Minister, in which case she continues, or they have no confidence, in which case she will not long be Prime Minister and the Conservatives will choose a new leader. Not long to go for the result. I'm joined now by the Telegraph's Camilla Tominey and the Daily Mirror's Kevin Maguire. Quiet night in Westminster here. Camilla,
Quiet day at the office generally, Andrew, I think.
how do you read things as they stand?
I think it's very, very close to call. I've been outside the committee room now for a couple of hours with Kev, and there's a sense of, you know, the Brexiteers obviously feeling quite emboldened by this idea that because she didn't address the backstop issue in her address to the 1922, that hasn't helped to allay doubts. Equally, you've got her loyalists coming out and saying she delivered a very honest, heartfelt and humbled address, and that she's just about pushed it over the line and saved herself. It's interesting because it's become this divide now, I think, between those who want to support her because they don't want a hard Brexit and the ERG members who actually want
these
to
are the Eurosceptics.
Eurosceptics who want her out because they think that she's the main obstacle now with her tweaked withdrawal agreement to a no-deal or managed no-deal Brexit.
Well, of course, we don't yet know that it was managed to be tweaked either, but Kevin, it's quite remarkable. I remember when Tony Blair said he wasn't going to fight the next election. You could see the power sucking from him. Angela Merkel in Germany, the German Chancellor, she said she won't fight the next election. She is already a much diminished figure. It's quite remarkable what the Prime Minister's had to do tonight.
I think it's pretty humiliating for her, and it leaves her weaker. Now, her camp are pretty confident they're going to win, but they're nervous about the size of the majority. And you're quite right, in 2006 there was an uprising of mainly MPs supporting Gordon Brown against Tony Blair. He promises he's going to go. He's gone a year later, but he achieved next to nothing in that year because all those people who think they might be able to succeed him begin to circle, and they will do the same with Theresa May. So she's given a lot. Few of us expected her to lead them into the next election, but nevertheless it's a wholly different thing when the Prime Minister, in order, we're begging really for them to vote for her, she has to go along to a meeting and say, look, stick with me now, I will be gone at the next election. In my heart I want to stand, but I know you'll want someone new and fresh. So she's time limited herself just to save her skin in this moment.
And she gave herself a caveat by saying, I think Adam Hollowbone put his hand up and said, well, hang on, Prime Minister, what if there's a snap election? She didn't rule herself out of running that. So there
But
was
she
this
couldn't
sense.
do that, could she?
She couldn't do that necessarily, but we had the briefing after PMQs today from the PM spokesman who dropped this bomb into the conversation. She's not going to stand in 2022. And that was obviously intended to allay concerns that she would be the leader for longer than after March. Now it seems there's a bit of an ambiguity about it, Andrew. I've got to be
Just
honest.
a few seconds because we're waiting on the result. But Kev, in a way, the starting gun for the next Tory leadership election race started tonight.
Started last night.
Absolutely. This doesn't solve any of the fundamentals. She still hasn't a majority to get through Parliament her Brexit plan, and they will be circling. They sent the blood in the water. In fact, she's given them more blood. Now, she can win, but if you're going to have more than 50 or 60 Conservative MPs voting against you, more than those who put in the letters, more than are in that Brexit group, you are in trouble.
Very well. We shall leave it there. Not long to go for the result. Thank you both for tonight. Let's just have a shot of the committee room where it's all happening. As you can see, not very much is happening there at the moment, but this is a committee room in the House of Commons, as you can see by the green chair covers there. This is where Graham Brady, he's the chairman of what's called the 1922 committee. It's basically the committee of Conservative backbenchers. He's the one that got all these letters from disillusioned Tory MPs saying they had no confidence in the Prime Minister anymore. We want an election there. And in a few moments, we expect him to come before that microphone and give us the result of this motion on Mrs May. While we're waiting on that, I'm joined by a member of the Labour front bench. She's the Shadow Business Secretary, Rebecca Long-Bailey. Welcome to our programme. This rather cold night tonight, but also quite historic in its own way. Now today, or tonight, it was only Conservative MPs that got to vote because it was an internal party matter. When will Labour give the whole House of Commons a chance to vote on no confidence in the government?
Well, we'll wait and see what the result says tonight, but I think it's quite clear that Theresa May has lost confidence within Parliament already, and even if she does win by a margin this evening, it will be difficult to see how she could push her withdrawal agreement through. But in terms of the no confidence vote, we've said this previously, we need to watch what happens over the coming days and assess the support for a vote of no confidence across Parliament, and we've been in discussions with various opposition parties.
Well, the Scottish Nationalists would support you, wouldn't they?
Well, that's right, but it's about making sure that we table...
Democrats have said
that's right, but it's about making sure we table that motion at a time when we know that it's going to be successful. Having a little bit of drama and parliamentary theatrics might make people feel better slightly, but it won't secure the outcome that we want to see, which is a general election and a change in government.
Is there a chance that Labour will put a motion of no confidence in the government and therefore the Prime Minister before the whole House of Commons before Christmas?
It's certainly a possibility, but as I say, we'll have to watch very closely what happens over the coming days, and we will be in discussions with various Members of Parliament, even those on the benches opposite us.
All right, we shall see. Even if you had one and weren't sure of winning, it could be close.
Well, we'll wait and see.
Wait and see seems to be the watchword of the night. We're waiting and seeing for the result. Let's just have another look at how Westminster's seen. Here we are from our media village. That's the Victoria Tower at the House of Lords, end of the Parliament here. The lights are blazing. The vote's not taking place there, or the counting. That's further back to the east of the building in the House of Commons. We're joined by Laura Kunsberg. What a surprise on a night like this.
I sound so pleased to see me, Andrew.
No, I'm always pleased to see you in the evening as well as during the day. Give us the latest.
Well, look, MPs are gathering in Committee Room 14, eager to hear the actual result, which of course has been a subject of frantic gossip and rumours for the last couple of hours. My sense is that the Prime Minister's supporters, some of those I've spoken to, they are pretty sure that she is safe. Right. The microphone has also gone out in Downing Street, which tells us that she is also ready to come and give her own statement to the country after this tumultuous day. But I would also say that one minister said to me, I'm not sure this is going to be as comfortable for us as we believe it to be. And of course in Westminster, even though it might seem crazy, the margin, the number of votes by which she wins or loses will also be a really important dynamic that shapes events in the next few months. But just to underline, for people who may be just turning the TV on today we've seen a group of the Prime Minister's own MPs try to get rid of her because they're so angry about her Brexit compromise. We don't think they'll have succeeded, but my goodness, they are determined to make life as difficult as they possibly can.
And the Prime Minister has indicated that even if she wins by one, and she only has to win by one, it's 50% of who votes, Tory MPs, plus one. But even if she does win by one, the politics of that aren't really realistic. And we're just going, hold the thought on that, we're just going, there's Graham Brady, he is the person who has presided over this vote of Conservative. All backbenchers, all ministers, everybody got to vote. I think he's going to give us the result. Now let us go to the House of Commons and we'll hear the May confidence vote result.
competition. Good evening, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the officers of the 1922 Committee for their help, especially my two assistant returning officers, Dame Cheryl Gillen and Charles Walker. The result of the ballot held this evening is that the Parliamentary Party does have confidence. Does have confidence in Theresa May as leader of the Conservative Party. The number of votes cast in favour of having confidence in Theresa May was 200 and against was 117. Under the rules set out in the Constitution of the Conservative Party, no further confidence vote can take place for at least 12
won the confidence of her Conservative backbenchers and government ministers. In a normal news cycle, that wouldn't seem so surprising that her own side has confidence in her, but 117 of them said they didn't have confidence in her. 200 did. It's a decent majority, but 117, Laura Kuenssberg, who don't, of her own side, is quite a big number.
It is a big number, and that is not at all comfortable for the Prime Minister. Now, she would have stayed to fight on, even if she'd only won by one vote. That's absolutely clear. We've seen time and time again that's in her character. But 117 of her own MPs voting against her in this way is quite something that is a real blow to her authority. And we know also she only even got that many votes because she promised that she won't take them into the next general election. So essentially today
and
she
even
had to...
then, they
even
still
then,
voted.
exactly. So she had to ask for permission to stay, if you like.
Right.
And still a very significant number of them voted for her to go. But big picture, she's safe for tonight.
For now. Jacob Rees-Mogg joins us, leading Brexiteer. You lost.
Evening. It's a terrible result for the Prime Minister.
But
it really is. But think of this. About half the Parliamentary Party is either in government, a PPS or a trade envoy, so is in the pay of the Prime Minister one way or another. Out of the remaining 160 or 170, 117 voted against her, because you have to assume the payroll would vote for their boss.
Well, you don't know that, it's a secret ballot.
Of course, but if you're not getting your payroll to vote for you, anyone who's on the payroll who didn't vote for her should have resigned, and nobody's resigned, so you've got to assume the payroll voted for her. This is 117 out of what, 160, 170?
Sure.
This is a terrible result for the Prime Minister.
Nevertheless, she won and you lost.
Accept that.
Your side triggered the vote, you lost that. Are you saying that you're going to continue the fight, that you won't accept this result, that you won't get behind the Prime Minister?
Of course I accept this result, but the Prime Minister must realise that under all constitutional norms, she ought to go and see the Queen urgently and resign. And I'll tell you why. Constitutionally, if a Prime Minister cannot get her business through the House of Commons, and on Monday the Prime Minister stood up and said she was going to lose so heavily that she wasn't even going to present the vote, and then discovers that the overwhelming majority of her backbenchers, of her non-paid backers, have voted against her. She clearly doesn't have confidence of the House of Commons. She should make way for somebody who does.
Final quick thought from you, Laura. It would seem from what Jacob Rees-Mogg is saying, this Tory civil war over Brexit has not been resolved by this vote. It continues.
It absolutely continues, and it continues in a very real way that will have an effect on all of us, because Jacob Rees-Mogg and his colleagues will have no intention now of suddenly obeying and playing nice in the House of Commons. I won't be surprised at all if Jacob and his colleagues fight her Brexit plans every step of the way. And she may be safe tonight, But the Brexit compromise that has taken the government and the EU nearly 2 years to agree...
That's still unresolved.
That's still unresolved, and that's going to have to change.
All right, we'll better leave it there on this busy and momentous night. Jacob Rees-Mogg, thank you. Laura, thank you very much. I know you've got a busy... Now, you've probably got a busy night too with some more plotting to do.
I never plot.
We understand. That's what they all tell us. That's it. On the night the Prime Minister won the confidence of her parliamentary party, but said she would not fight another general election. From this BBC News special in Westminster, goodbye.